Hey, so today we are on our final session for our strategic management information system. And in today's session, we are going to be able to plan the implementation of an information system strategy. So from our unit aim, the learner will now develop an understanding of the importance of integrating organizational strategy with information system and the tools and techniques that can be used to analyze strategy. So they will analyze business process and recommend improvements. So what do we mean by strategy implementation? We are going simply to look into the translation of choosing strategy into an organizational action. So as they achieve strategical goals and objectivities. So we are basically looking into the transformation, the implementation of our theoretical concept to a actual tangible and physical practice. So this will now also define as the manner in which an organization should develop, utilize, and integrate the organizational structure, control system, and culture to follow the strategy that will now lead to a competitive advantage and better performance. So what do we mean by organizational structure? So this organizational structure will now going to allocate some specific value when developing tasks or roles to the employees. So we're simply going to divide the company into departments, and we'll now give certain roles and duties to each single employees. So everyone will now have responsibilities, and they will now have to ensure that there is data integrity when it comes to working with the company, and they're able now to carry out everything effectively. So an organizational control system, it also requires mandatory. This control system equips managers with motivational incentive for employees, as well as feedback on employees and organizational performance. So there are some main steps when implementing a strategy. So we're going to be developing an organization having potential of carrying out strategy successfully. And they have to be able to distribute of abundant resources to strategy essential activities. Then also there are we have to be able to be creating strategy, encouraging policies, employing best policies and programs for constant improvement, and then linking reward structure to accomplish of results and making use of strategic leadership. So what do we mean by risk involved in strategy implementation? So we always have to look at risk management and what could be the damages, how this can negatively impact the company when it comes to take certain risks that are not really calculated. So excellently formulated strategies will now fall if they're not properly implemented. So what happens in essential, in a nutshell, is that the strategy implementation is not possible unless there is a stability between the strategy and each organizational dimension and each department. So everyone need to collaborate and work as the plan as was established in order for them to not fall. And also the strategy implementation poses a threat to many managers and employees in the organization. So what happens is that the new power relationship are predicted and achieved. So what will now happen, the new groups are formed whose values, attitude, beliefs, and concern might be known. Here we have formulation and implementation. So as we can see, following are the main difference between formulation and implementation. Well, on the left-hand side for our formulation, we can now see that this will now include planning and decision-making, and this will now be involved in developing organization strategy and goals, while implementation is going to involve all those means related to executing the strategy plan. So with the formulation is now placing the forces between the action, while with implementation, we're now going to manage the force during this action. The strategy formulation, it is an entrepreneur activity based on strategic decision-making, while the implementation is made in administrative tasks based on strategical and operational decisions. The formulation we're now going to emphasize on effectiveness, while with the implementation, we're going to emphasize the efficiency and the performances. With our formulation, it's going to be a rational, so it's a logical procedure or process, while with the implementation is going to be more tangible and more like an operational process. Strategy formulation will now require coordination among few individuals, while our implementation will now require coordination among many individuals. Our strategy formulation will now going to require a great deal of initiative and logical skills, while implementation will now require specific motivational and leadership traits. So what is a strategy decision? By strategy decision are now decisions that are concerned with the whole environment in which the firm operates. So the entire resources and the people who form the company are the interface between the two. So what are the characteristics and features of our decision? The decision must have major resource proposition or plans for the organization, which this decision might be concerned with the possession of new resources. Also, the decision will now deal with fitting the organizational resource capabilities, and it also has to deal with the range of organization activities as well. So our decision will also involve a change of major kind of since the organization operates in every changing environment. Then you will now have strategical decisions, which are complex in nature. Here we have a representation of how strategic decision, administrative and operational decisions correlates with each other. And we can now look at them in more detail, where by strategic decision, we're just simply going to look into how long will now take administrative, how this will be taken daily, and operational, we'll now look at how the decisions are not frequently taken, and so on. What is a strategy evaluation? This is simply as a significant as a strategy formulation, because it now throws light on the efficiency of our effectiveness. So we are now basically going to review how this has performed with tangible results. And the managers can also assess the appropriateness of their current strategy in today's dynamic world, with some socio-economics, political, and technical innovations. So the process of strategy evaluation will now consist of the following: fixing benchmark of performance, measurement of performance, analyzing variance, and taking correct actions. So what do we mean by fixing a benchmark of performance? While fixing the benchmark, strategics will now encounter questions such as what benchmarks to set, how to set, and how to express them. So when it comes to determine the benchmark performance to be set, it will now be essential to discover the special requirements for performing the main task. And when it comes to performance indicators, these will now identify and express the special requirements. And then the organizational can use both quantitative and qualitative criteria for comprehensive assessment of performance. So measurement of performance can be done through various tools, analytical tools, like KPIs or other dashboard and reporting system from a company, which will allow them to track the employees' performance. Also, we have analyzing variance. So while measuring the actual performance and comparing it with standard performance, there might be variances which must be analyzed as well. So this could be related to how they perform in 2022 compared to how you've performed in 2023. And also it is important to take correct action. So when you've now done your analysis and come up with with some figures, you now have to implement some new strategies in order for you to fix the issue and increase your productivity. So this was everything for today. Thank you very much for joining, and I'll see you in the next session.